Okay, today we're going to talk about the progressive movement. The progressive movement was a time, late 1800s, early 1900s, when a group of people called the progressives wanted to make changes. They wanted to make changes in society, in politics and government, and many of these changes were for the better, to correct mistakes that had been made in the past. Okay? The first section we're going to talk about is with the government. Now, many U.S. senators accepted bribes to vote the way the corporations wished. People began to refer to the U.S. Senate as the Millionaires Club. Basically, their votes could be bought. They did not do what was in the best interest of their state or the country. They did what was in the best interest of them because they were getting paid by these big businesses, these big corporations, to vote the way they wanted them to. So definitely there's corruption there. And let's take a look at this political cartoon. Okay, if you'll notice these big fat men back here, they are built like money bags. And if you can see written on there, there's the Steel Beam Trust, the Copper Trust, the Standard Oil Trust, and it keeps going. All these. So these right here, they represent the monopolies or the trust. So let me jot that down. These are your trust. And I want it in red. Hang on just a second. So these were your trust. And if you look, do you notice where they are at? These men down here, if you don't know, they are Congress. Let's see, O. Let me redo that one. And if you look, you can see the trusts are standing over Congress, like they're watching them to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And you can see the congressmen are turned around looking at the trust. Now, in a political cartoon, make sure you read everything. This right here says this is the Senate of the monopolies, by the monopolies, and for the monopolies. And of course, we know it should be, of the people, by the people, for the people. And here is the entrance for the monopolies. And over here, if you'll notice, the entrance for the public is closed. So basically what we get from this cartoon is Congress was being controlled by trust. They were operating in the best interest of trust and monopolies, and not the American people. All right, next. Progressives sought to break the power of political bosses by reforming the election processes. These are changes that they thought needed to be done in elections. Okay, there are 5 that we're going to talk about: direct primary, 17th Amendment, recall election, and initiative and referendum. First, direct primary. It's a nominating election in which voters choose candidates who later run in the general election. So what it is, we had this recently, whenever the Republicans are going to choose who they want to run for president, or the Democrats are going to choose who they want to run for president. They have 7 or 8 people running, and then as people are not getting support, they start dropping out until it's mainly between 2 people. I think this last time it was between Romney and, can't think of the other guy's name. It was between Romney and somebody else, and they had to choose between Romney and somebody else. They chose Romney to run against Obama. Okay, that is your direct primary. Now, the 17th Amendment gave the voters the power to elect their own senators. Before this, our senators were chosen by our state legislature. The people in the state did not have a choice of who they wanted to be their senator. So you kind of ran into a problem with that. And recall. Recall is exactly what it is. If we elect somebody to office, are we stuck with them? No. If they're not doing a good job, recall enables voters to remove an elected official from office by calling for a special election. If they have a special election, they have to run for office again. If they're not reelected, then they are basically kind of fired, kicked out. And this happened in California a few years back. They didn't like their governor. They had a recall election, and that's how they got Arnold Schwarzenegger as governor. Initiative. Initiative is exactly what it says, what it is. If you take the initiative of something, you're starting it. So with an initiative, instead of the people having to wait for the state legislature to make a law, the people can initiate it. They can sign a petition to get the law or bill put on the ballot, and then that way they can vote on it and have it introduced into legislation. They don't have to wait for the state legislature to do that. To go along with the initiative, you have a referendum. What happens if they pass a law we don't like? Are we stuck with it? Example, if they passed a law saying we had to go to school 6 days a week, would we be stuck with it? No, we could do a referendum where enough people would sign a petition, we would get it put back on the ballot, and the people of the state would vote on it, and if they did not like it, they could do away with that law. So, initiative is where we're going to introduce the law. The people get to introduce it, a bill to become a law. And referendum is where people get to vote on whether they want a law that has been passed to stay. Now, secret ballot is self-explanatory. They didn't have a secret ballot back then. This provided a secret ballot, so that way you couldn't be intimidated to vote. People would not know who you voted for. Okay, we're going to skip this. Galveston, Texas, 1900, huge hurricane, pretty much destroyed most of the city. They tried rebuilding the city. They weren't doing a very good job, so the state appointed city commissioners, experts in a certain field, and they were able to help rebuild the city. So if you have any free time, if you want to kind of go and look up just some information about this, it's really quite interesting about the Galveston, Texas hurricane in 1900. And there's some photos of it. And we're going to skip this one. And this one, you do need to know this man, Robert M. Lafayette. He was a reform governor from Wisconsin. He had all these new ideas, what he wanted for his state. They referred to his program as the Wisconsin idea. It was so popular that a lot of states tried to copy it, including Mississippi. He started kindergartens. He ended conviction work programs where you could go and basically lease convicts and go and basically it'd be free labor, and you would work them. He got rid of that. So he did a lot of good things for his state.